10th meeting of the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics. I see, Mr. Angus, you have your hand up.
Yes, well, I just wanted to speak on the business at hand, and so...
Well, the committee business is what we're doing first. That's correct. We'll be dealing with the witness list for our next study following this, but there is 3 items of committee business. You have the floor, Mr. Angus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a couple of motions this morning that... could I have copies of them, please? And as well, Mr. Matthew Revenues. Yeah. I think the issue, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, of the role of our committee in ensuring the compliance of law, the importance of access to information is one of the primary mandates of our committee. So when anyone monkey wrenches with the federal responsibilities of access to information and the maintaining of records, as are the legal obligations of the government, then it is something that really is important to be dealt with. I'm very concerned about the mishmash of excuses and stories we've been given regarding Mr. Benjamin Perrin, the Prime Minister's lawyer, and what happened to his emails. Now, the importance of these emails, I think everyone would agree, are crucial for understanding the extent of the collusion and cover-up.
Reluctant to interrupt you, but technically I gave you the floor. You would have to move your motion. The motion is in order, and notice has been given, but I'd ask you to move the motion, and perhaps even to set the context, you might want to read the motion.
Okay, excellent. Record. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Ravniak, do you have a point of order?
I just would like to be on the list, the speaking list.
To be added to the speakers list, so Mr. Ravniak.
My notice of motion that in relation to the case of public office holder Benjamin Perrin's emails in the Privy Council office in the Prime Minister's office being deleted and then found, and pursuing to Standing Order 1083H6, the committee undertake a study on whether government initiatives, including proper protocols, legal obligations, were fulfilled in this case. That the study include how government departments and ministries preserve all communications, including but not limited to emails, text messages, decisions, and recommendations. That the committee invite the Information Commissioner to take part in the study to discuss her recommendations on a duty to document. That the committee invite both the PMO officials, PCO officials, and President of the Treasury Board to explain governmental protocols in relation to preserving governmental communications, including Benjamin Perrin's emails, and that the committee report its findings back to the House. You will note that I've asked to bring the Information Commissioner. I think the Information Commissioner will play a key role, because the Information Commissioner has grown increasingly concerned about this government's interference with their legal obligations for access to information, and the Information Commissioner has spoken of the need the duty to document, so that if emails or records are removed, there's an explanation, there's a trail we can find for explanation, and this would help all of us, I believe, in dealing with the issue of Mr. Benjamin Perrin. The story that the Prime Minister and his Parliamentary Secretary have tried to foist on Canadians is that this illegal deal that happened in the Prime Minister's office was a private deal. It was a gift. It was a case of Mr. Nigel Wright having a bleeding heart for a very relatively onerous senator, and the two of them went off in a corner and did not tell anybody. And in fact, the Prime Minister told us there was no legal agreement. And of course, we now know that that's not true. We don't really know the extent of what the Prime Minister knew before May 15th, but according to the RCMP affidavits, the Prime Minister must have been fully briefed after May 15th, and the RCMP affidavits provide a very different picture of what went down in his office than the Prime Minister has given us in the House of Commons, because what we see in the RCMP documentation is that Ben Perrin, the Prime Minister's lawyer, played the key role in setting up this legal agreement. A legal agreement was put in place, a 5-point legal agreement that was arranged between Ms. Payne, the lawyer for Mike Duffy, and the Prime Minister's lawyer. It's, of course, question is how Mr. Perrin would have engaged in this if he wasn't authorized to do so. Lawyers just don't go off and cook up side deals when they're working for the Prime Minister of the country. So certainly any emails between for Ben Perrin would tie us back to whether or not the Prime Minister was involved. We see that there's also from the RCMP affidavits that there's a level of secrecy and attempts to obscure any attempt to follow the trail. We have Benjamin Perrin following up an email to Nigel Wright advising that Janice Payne wanted the agreement in writing and stated, "I explained to her that wasn't happening. We aren't selling cars." She seemed to get it. Again, it raises questions. What kind of legal advice is the Prime Minister relying on when a deal is being struck that is potentially illegal and his lawyer is telling his chief advisor, we're not putting any of this in writing? We see also where that Nigel Wright and Mr. Perrin are going back and forth, and again the line is said that they don't want to give Mike Duffy his marching orders through the lawyer. They don't want it in writing. We'll do it over the phone. So the 5-point agreement that Mr. Perrin negotiated is the subject of an criminal investigation. So when the Prime Minister's office was contacted by the RCMP, clearly the importance of those emails are very clear. According to Corporal Horton, in his affidavit on page 21, when he asked about the Ben Perrin emails, "I was advised that the emails of Benjamin Perrin were no longer available because he completed his tenure at the Prime Minister's office in April 2013, before the relation that Mr. Wright reimbursed the money to Senator Duffy. Internal practice within the Prime Minister's office is that a person's account and emails are removed from the computer server once their employment ends." So Corporal Horton, who's leading a criminal investigation, is told by the Prime Minister's office that it's a standard operating procedure to flush the records of the Prime Minister's lawyer the second he walks out of the building. We also see that the Privy Council then is put up to parrot the same lines, where the Privy Council says, their letter to the RCMP says it is, quote, operating protocol to close and delete email accounts of departing employees of the PCO and the Prime Minister's office as a matter of course. So certainly one of the reasons we want to have the Privy Council and the Prime Minister's office here is to find out, was it Ben Perrin who flushed and virtually shredded his emails before he left the building, or was the Privy Council who went in and did that? We also need to find out why the Privy Council would claim that it is standard operating protocol to delete emails of the Prime Minister's lawyer, when this would be actually an indictable offense under the Access to Information Act. The obstruction of the right of access in 67.1 says no person shall, with intent to deny a right of access under this Act, A, destroy, mutilate, or alter a record, B, falsify a record or make a false account, C, conceal a record, or D, direct, propose, counsel, or cause any person in any manner to do anything mentioned in paragraphs A to C. Any person who contravenes this is guilty of an indictable offense and is liable to imprisonment or a fine of $10,000 or both. So we're being told now by the Prime Minister's office and the Privy Council, and the Privy Council, which my honourable colleague on the government side keeps talking about this bureaucracy. The Privy Council is the Prime Minister's operating, functioning bureaucracy. It is his staff. And the Privy Council has a legal obligation to all Canadians to ensure that the highest standards of government are followed. So we are told that they take it as a matter of course to break the law. That's a very, very serious claim to make. I guess they would prefer to be seen breaking the law, flushing emails, than having a paper trail that ties the Prime Minister to charges of breach of trust, fraud, and bribery. So we need to look at that. We also see that the Privy Council claimed when they were first approached by the RCMP that the emails were deleted. The RCMP clearly didn't believe the Privy Council. And again, I think that's extraordinary. They didn't believe the Privy Council or the Prime Minister's office was telling the truth because they went back to them. Not once, not twice, and 3 times and said, where are those emails? I think the pressure, and this is speculation on my part, but this is why we need to bring witnesses, that we're being given 2 options. One is that the Privy Council allowed these emails to be flushed, or there was an attempt to obstruct a police investigation. The Privy Council says that it was normal operating procedure to close the deleted email accounts, but then the story changed and said that Ben Perrin may have done that without authorization. Well, which is it? So this is again why we need to discuss this. The question, though, is when finally the Privy Council coughs up these emails, and we don't know if these emails have been altered or interfered with. I think we certainly, I'm hoping the RCMP will demand a forensic audit of how these emails came to be, because they were sitting in the Prime Minister's office for 6 months being kept from the RCMP with the possible collusion of the Privy Council. So when they finally coughed them up, they said that they had been holding them all along. Now, I've heard crazy stories from the government side. Well, they were on some server in somebody's back closet. Oh, well, you know, there's so many variations in servers, and we actually can't track information. I mean, they lost the privacy data on 500,000 Canadians, so I guess they're saying, hey, cut us some slack here. We lose information all the time. But it's not credible that they lost track of the emails of the Prime Minister's lawyer. And it's not credible that they said that, well, we were holding them all the time. They were frozen, as Ms. Isabelle Mondu states, because of other litigation. The Privy Council legal department would have made it there. They would have had an obligation to know any of the legal files that Benjamin Perrin was involved in. If they were going to hold all of his emails for unrelated litigation, they would have known where they were. They would have had them all the time. And it's simply not credible that at the second time that the RCMP came, they were still claiming they didn't have them and they didn't know where they were. So, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, I think we are looking at a very serious issue here. We're looking at whether or not the Access to Information Act was interfered with and undermined in a criminal manner, not by some low-level bureaucrat, not like the youngster that tried to shut off access to information. What was his name? I forget his name now.
The dumpster diver?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name either.
He's lost to history. We're talking about the senior legal department of the Prime Minister's office being involved in potentially illegal acts to suppress information in an RCMP investigation into the Prime Minister's office. So I believe that this is something our committee needs to investigate. I think we need to talk about this, and I'm asking my colleagues on the other side not to continue participating in the cover-up. Don't hide this. Don't go in camera. Don't do what they did when they ordered Senator Gerstein and the crowd to shut down the Senate investigation into Runia and Gerstein. What was being done before in the back rooms is now being done in open public. Is this Prime Minister, who's very politically wounded, attempts to do anything and interfere with any process that will get to the bottom of the criminal acts that were committed in his office. So I'm asking my honourable colleagues, their careers are on the line too. Don't go down with this Prime Minister. He's done. He's broken his trust with the Canadian people. I'm asking you, you have to go back to your voters. And some of you are going to be in it pretty tough if you have to explain why you sat in this committee meeting and went in camera and tried to shut down an investigation on whether criminal acts were being committed by your boss. Don't do it. Work with us.
Thank you, Mr. Angus. Next on the speakers list is Mr. Calandra.
Mr. Chair. That ridiculous speech is exactly why a committee like this is not the appropriate place for something of this important nature, Mr. Chair. We, of course, at least I, of course, will be voting against this motion. First and foremost, Mr. Chair, this is a motion that belongs in front of operations and government estimates when it comes to with respect to the computer systems and the emails of Mr. Perrin. I'll note that...
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Point of order, Mr. Ravignac.
I'm wondering if my honourable colleague is actually challenging a ruling that this motion is in order, because he seems to be thinking that this motion is not in order at this committee and should belong to another committee, but you've already actually pronounced yourself that this was in order and could be before the committee. So I'm not sure that the point being made by my honourable colleague, which is clearly what he's trying to do is dodge this issue completely, and no doubt in its next breath will propose a motion to go on camera. So I think that it's not particularly sporting for the Christmas season to be putting into question the fact that this motion is in order.
Well, if I could speak to that then, Mr. Ravignac, as far as being a point of order, the motion as put forward by Mr. Angus is entirely in order and within the mandate of this, in fact, is the Access to Information Committee. And the motion, as I read it, deals with the duty to document, an element of the Access to Information Act, and the duty to retain those documents, also a aspect of the Access to Information Act. So your point is well taken, and Mr. Calandra, please proceed, but with the knowledge that we are having a legitimate debate on an issue that's legitimately before.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm not challenging your ruling on the motion. I'm just suggesting that this is something that belongs would be better undertaken at operations and government estimates. I note, Mr. Chair, that you were actually present when the Privy Council testified at operations and government estimates, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was last week, Mr. Chair?
Yes, the Standing Committee on Government Operations had the PCO in to speak about their supplementary estimates.
And I'm told a lot of questions were asked with respect to this particular case, and it is my opinion, although I'm not going to challenge the chair, that that's the better place for this, Mr. Chair. As you know, we've, of course, in our throne speech identified the many different levels of computer systems, servers, email accounts, that each department has different systems at play as being an issue that we wanted to try to resolve and make it much easier for the public service and for members of Parliament to do their jobs by bringing that down to one system. I want to take a second to read, or a moment anyway, to actually read the letter from Isabel Mondu, Assistant Secretary to the Cabinet, Legal Operations, dated December 1st, 2013. This letter was to Assistant Commissioner Gilles Michaud, Commanding Officer, National Division, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Dear Assistant Commissioner Michaud, and this is the letter, sorry. Dear Assistant Commissioner Michaud, I write to draw your attention to an issue related to the emails of former Prime Minister's Office staffer Benjamin Perrin. The Privy Council Office, or PCO, and Shared Services Canada provide technical services to the PMO, including email and network services. It is the operating protocol of the PCO to close and delete email accounts of departing employees of the PCO and the PMO as a matter of course. Consistent with this protocol, upon Mr. Perrin's departure at the end of his employment in late March 2013, the PMO was provided a notice that his emails had been deleted from the computer server. At the time of Nigel Wright's departure from the PMO in mid-May 2013, the PMO contacted the PCO's technical services and asked that emails of Mr. Wright be frozen and preserved. The request to freeze and preserve email accounts was repeated for other relevant staff as noted in your recent ITO. And I'll just take a brief second just to refer to the ITO from Corporal Horton. Page 21 of the ITO states the following. Rob Staley, legal representative for the PMO, advised my office that he had clear orders from the Prime Minister to provide complete cooperation with the investigation and to provide any assistance or documentation the RCMP requested. The PMO employees, current and former, whose emails I have deemed relevant, have all provided privacy waivers through their legal counsel relating to the contents of their emails. I'm going to get back to the letter now. In September 2013.
Point of order. Point of order by Mr. Angus.
Yeah, he missed. If he could read the next sentence where it says that Mr. Perrin's emails were deleted when he left.
That's not a point
That's
of order.
the next sentence.
Angus, Mr. Calandra has the floor. He can read whatever lines he wants.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sounds of a little desperation on that side over there, Mr. Chair. In September 2013, in connection with your investigation, the PMO asked the PCO to make available to the RCMP the emails of certain individuals requested by the RCMP. That list included Mr. Perrin. In response to that request, we advised the PMO, who we understand informed the RCMP, that Mr. Perrin's emails had been deleted from the server and were no longer available. This advice was repeated during the email production and search process itself in mid-September 2013. We understand that last week the RCMP sought further confirmation from the PMO's counsel that Mr. Perrin's emails were not available from any other source, including from any backups. On November 28, 2013, the PMO relayed this request to the PCO to confirm our prior advice on the availability of Mr. Perrin's emails. In response to this inquiry on November 29, 2013, we found that Mr. Perrin's emails had in fact been retained due to a litigation hold in an unrelated matter. On learning that Mr. Perrin's emails were in fact available, we informed the PMO on November 30, 2013. The PMO and the PCO agreed to inform you as soon as possible, and obviously you as the Assistant Commissioner of the RCMP. We understand that the PMO's counsel will contact you with a view to making Mr. Perrin's emails available to you without further delay, and we stand ready to assist you in any way possible. We regret that we previously failed, even if inadvertently, to accurately inform you and the PMO about the availability of Mr. Perrin's emails. We apologize for any inconvenience it may have caused. Yours truly, Isabelle Mondu, as I said, Assistant Secretary to the Cabinet Office of the Privy Council. Now that information was, as I said, was released on December 1st, Mr. Chair. Later on that day, when unscripted and unprompted and presumably not beaten up by his people and in the leadership of his party, the member for Wascana, the Liberal member for Wascana, Mr. Ralph Goodale, tweeted out the following: beyond apologies to the PMO and the RCMP, so beyond apologies to the PMO and the RCMP, the Privy Council owes its biggest apology to all Canadians. So the member for Wascana, himself a Privy Councillor, somebody who actually knows how government works, unlike the members opposite who have never actually served in government. As I noted, Mr. Chair, I guess losing 16 straight elections would make me bitter too, but thankfully I've not had to lose 16 straight elections like the members of the NDP have. And I can appreciate that they don't understand they don't understand how government actually works and how the Privy Council works, Mr. Chair. I can appreciate that, so that's why I think it's important that we take the time to do that today, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair. But I am surprised, of course, that this motion or parts of this motion are not being brought forward to the other committee, Operations and Government Estimates, as well, Mr. Chair. I should also note, Mr. Chair, because the member Timmins James Bay made reference to it. Page 72, of course, of the exact same documentations. Senator Duffy, it says this, Corporal Horton's documentation says, I'm not aware of any evidence that the Prime Minister was involved in the repayment or reimbursement of money to Senator Duffy or his lawyer. Mr. Chair, what we have here, of course, is one of two things. You would have to believe, that what the NDP and the Liberals are saying, which they seem to not want to say, is that the public servants who work in the Privy Council office, and by extension anybody else involved in this, are liars. They don't want to say that. So they try and couch it in, it's the Prime Minister's office that somehow browbeated and forced the public service into being liars.
Mr. Calandra, point of order, Madame Borg.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je trouve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that what Mr. Calandra is saying is that we're blaming all public service employees, and we're simply asking for clarification on protocols to make sure that they were compliant with. So we're not accusing public service employees. We're attempting to get answers to our questions, which are perfectly legitimate. These are questions that Canadians have, and to suggest that we're pointing the finger at public service employees is absolutely false.
So rather long point of clarification, Mr. Chair. Again, Mr. Chair, using the member for Timmins James Bay's own arguments in talking about the motion, he alluded to the fact that it's his belief that basically the public service surrounding the Prime Minister impeded an RCMP investigation. Thereby, they broke the law. Thereby, the public service cannot be trusted.
Point of order.
Mr. Angus, on a point of order.
The issue of breaking the law is the access to information. It is unlawful to delete any email or document once a formal access to information request is received or anticipated by the department relating to the subject. It also states that any attempt to remove or is an indictable offense. That's the issue. My colleague might not hear, or he might be trying to misrepresent. The issue of breaking the law is the fact that they said it's normal operating procedure to delete emails. Again, that's an indictable offense.
Mr. Angus, I think you're engaging in debate more than a point of order, but a clarification has been made. Mr. Calandra, you have the floor.
Sorry, is that okay to continue, Mr. Chair? I note your generous
well,
time that you allow for points of orders.
I have to hear, Mr. Calandra, I have to hear if there is in fact a point of order in the intervention made by any one of the colleagues.
Sure, I'm gonna make sure that I file that in my memory so that I make sure my points of orders are just as clear, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that clarification. So what you'd have to then believe then, Mr. Chair, is that what the NDP are saying and the Liberals are saying is that the public service impeded a criminal investigation, a potential criminal investigation, that they deliberately hid emails from the RCMP, that Miss Mondu, I suppose, is part of a conspiracy of the public service to misinform not only the Canadian public but hide evidence from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Mr. Speaker, I do not believe that Ms. Mondu or the people that work in the Privy Council office are criminals. I do not believe that they are liars. I do not believe that they impeded an RCMP investigation. I believe them when they say they made a mistake. It is clear by the documentations of Corporal Horton and the ITO on page 21, that the Prime Minister immediately ordered his office to assist, immediately ordered the freezing of all emails associated with this. It goes on further, of course, to say PMO employees, and back to page 21, PMO employees, current and former, whose emails I deemed relevant, have all provided privacy waivers through their legal counsels relating to the content of their emails. The PMO has also waived solicitor-client privilege in those emails, so we've seen that as well. So basically what this motion comes down to, Mr. Chair, is a complete witch hunt of the people who work in the public service and nothing else, Mr. Chair. They are afraid to say that. They are afraid to say that. I do not believe that the people who work for the House of Commons, I don't believe that the people who are in front of us, I don't believe that the people who work in the Privy Council office are all liars. I do not believe them to be cheaters. I do not believe them to be the type of people who would break the law, and I think they deserve far more respect than the opposition are prepared to give them. As I said earlier, Mr. Goodale from Wascana seemed to accept that premise before he got back to the House of Commons, and was told to think differently by his, certainly not by his leader, because his leader really doesn't talk very often.
Point of order, Mr. Ravignan.
I would just note that Mr. Goodale is not here to defend himself, and
he doesn't have to send an email.
To ascribe feelings or ascribe arguments to a person who is absent is not particularly sporting, nor is it particularly useful. We can't hear from that individual. So.
More of an editorial comment than a point of order, but thank you, Mr. Ravignan.
I'll just reread Mr. Goodale's comments then, just so that I make sure that I appropriately quote him. Mr. Goodale, a member for Liberal Member of Parliament for Wascana, beyond apologies to the PMO and to the RCMP, the Privy Council owes its biggest apology to all Canadians. That was exactly what Mr. Goodale said. I can read it again for you, Mr. Ravignan, if you want to just make sure. Let me do that for you. Beyond apologies to the PMO and RCMP, the Privy Council owes its biggest apology to all Canadians. That was Ralph Goodale, who accepted, of course.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, could you read that one more time?
Sure,
because,
let me do that.
What's definitely not clear is that you can extrapolate from that one quotation
let me read that for him again,
everything that you've actually said about what Mr. Goodale has done. So I'm quite pleased to hear it again, because Canadians will know that it has really nothing to do with the way you're arguing your point. So.
In the interest of clarity, perhaps, Mr. Calandra.
Sure. Let me do that for you, Mr. Chair. I can read that for you again, Mr. Chair. And I'll do it slower. I understand the member might be having difficulty with his translation. Beyond apologies to the PMO, so Mr. Goodale is suggesting here, and I'll kind of translate what he's doing at the same. So beyond apologies to the PMO and to the RCMP, the Privy Council owes its biggest apology to all Canadians. So what Mr. Goodale, just so I can help the NDP members understand what he's saying here, is that upon receiving the letter from Isabelle Mondeau, Assistant Secretary to the Cabinet, and receiving the information, as of course was made public immediately, the Liberal member, Mr. Goodale, suggested that the Privy Council, this is the public service, owed an apology to the Prime Minister's office, as well as to the RCMP. Now, I guess it's up to the member for Wascana to explain what happened in the 24 hours between him being in his riding and coming to the House of Commons, what changed his mind on that, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that's something that the honourable member can maybe, he sits on the same side of the House as he does. He might want to move over a couple of desks and ask him what changed his mind. Now, Mr. Chair, just because we have this information here. We have the letter from the Privy Council. We have many pages of the ITO available to us, and because of the importance of what the NDP are trying to do here, Mr. Speaker, the way that which they, both the NDP and the Liberals, are basically what they're doing, Mr. Chair, is they're using their parliamentary privilege of immunity to say that these people, these public servants, are criminals.
Point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Angus.
Well, Mr. Calandra can live in the gutter as much as he wants. The issue here is whether laws were broken. We're not naming any individual. But perhaps if he wants to cover up the breaking of the law, as they did with the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister misleading the House and their lawyer and all the senior Conservative staff, they shouldn't be trying to drag the civil service into their criminal activities. If their staff, the civil service, have nothing to do with this, they would not mind bringing them. But I think their concern is that if these people testify, the fingerprints might go back to where the criminal activity occurred. And I think that my colleague, who's defending this criminal activity on a daily basis, needs to be honest with Canadians.
Thank you, Mr. Angus. Yeah, I don't see a point of order in there, but we could, just to focus the the debate somewhat more, we should be aware that the motion we're debating calls for a study into whether government initiatives include proper protocols for the duty to document, etc. It's a more broad-reaching examination, I think, that's being asked for about whether the policy and the protocols actually conflict with the law, with the requirements under the Access to Information Act. I don't see any accusations of criminal activity directly in that, but both parties seem to be extrapolating further meaning maybe than actually exists. You still have the floor, Mr. Calandra.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't want to interrupt that long point of order and your dissertation there. I'm extrapolating from what the member for Timmins James Bay said, Mr. Chair, in defending the need to bring this motion forward. It was actually the member for Timmins James Bay who accused the Privy Council office of breaking the law. It was actually the member for Timmins James Bay who suggested that they were impeding an RCMP investigation, Mr. Chair. It is the member for Timmins James Bay who suggested that the professional public service and independent public service somehow were breaking the law and as I said, impeding an RCMP investigation. Those aren't my words, Mr. Chair, and that was in the member for Timmins James Bay's dissertation as to why this motion would be brought forward. On the points that you raised, Mr. Chair, as I've said earlier on in this, I think that some of the portions of this motion are better served at the Operations and Government Estimates Committee, where the Privy Council does appear before, Mr. Chair, and you would know that because, of course, last week you participated in the Government Operations and Estimates Committee.
Could I have a point of order?
If it is, in fact, a point of order.
Well, what I'd like for Canadians, I think that what we need to do is clarify the mandate of this committee, because what my honourable colleague is essentially trying to do is say that this notice of motion belongs somewhere else. So I request from the chair that we read the mandate of this committee. The analysts tell us what the mandate of this committee, so that we can be clear all around the table, and Canadians can be clear who are listening to us, whether or not it's the responsibility of this committee to deal with access to information and information issues. I think that that's only fair.
Mm-hmm. No, I take your point, and I was just talking about this with the clerk as he was pointing out to me that Mr. Angus's motion makes reference to Standing Order 1083H6, and which speaks specifically to our mandate studying government initiatives, which is the language used here. So number 6 is, in fact, the proposing, promoting, monitoring, and assessing of initiatives which relate to access to information and privacy across all sectors of Canadian society and to ethical standards relating to public office holders. So I think Section 6 of the standing order that gives mandate to this committee, or that is the mandate for this committee, speaks directly to, or uses the same language actually as Mr. Angus's motion, so therefore it's entirely in order and appropriate.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to hear that because a notice of motion that I've placed also refers to the Standing Order 108. So it's very important for me to know whether or not my motion, when it comes to the floor, will be relevant, will be deemed relevant, will be deemed in order. Given that it's dealing with some of similar issues, particularly access to emails, particularly access to PINs, and the right to Canadians to know that information.
Yeah, well, we'll deal with that when you actually move that motion, Mr. Ravniette, as to whether it's in order or not. Mr. Calandra, you have the floor.
And I think, Mr. Chair, it seems to me that you're struggling to maintain some type of order in the committee, so I think I'll have a motion to move in camera to assist you in that matter.
Cover up.
Cover it all up.
Yeah.
Recorded vote. I am struggling to see what possible justification, Mr. Calandra, you could have for asking this particular item of business to be moved in camera. I mean, the in-camera rule, as I understand it, is to be used in cases of national security, invasion of privacy, commercial interests. It's not supposed to be the default position to save embarrassment to the government. And in my view, as a chair of this committee, it's been abused egregiously all throughout all of the standing committees. And I certainly don't want the public to think that this is normal in any way, shape, or form, because we can never allow it to become normal. It's a disgrace. In fact, it's a travesty.
So I think there's
I have no trouble controlling this meeting. We're having a good debate about a very important subject, Mr. Calandra, the public's right to know. They have a right to know what their legislators are doing, and they have a right to know how their legislators are voting on issues anything other than legitimate national security or some justification. The in-camera rule should not be trampled all over.
To protect corruption and cover-up. That's what they're doing, Mr. Chair. They're defending corruption and cover-up.
There's a motion, Mr. Chair, and you seem
They're going to use their majority to override the right of Canadians to know, just as they went after Senator Gerstein, just as they deleted the emails.
Get to blather on like this all the time?
Mr. Chair.
Well, I'm participating. You don't even bother to participate.
There's a motion about a cover-up. Floor, Mr. Chair. Either you're going to deal with it or not.
They're all involved in the cover-up. Look at their faces.
The motion to move in camera is non-debatable. We'll have a recorded vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Calandra.
Yes.
Mr. Carmichael.
Yes.
Ms. Davidson.
Yes.
Mr. Dreeshen.
Yes.
Mr. Gould.
Wait.
Mr. Mays.
Yes.
Mr. Neil Gordon.
Yes.
Mr. Angus.
No.
Madame Borg.
Absolument.
Monsieur Ravignan.
This is a travesty of democracy. It's a disgrace.
Mr. Andrews.
No to the cover-up.
Okay, the motion carries. The meeting will be suspended briefly while we clear the room of the Canadian public and go under the black shroud of secrecy once again.
you.